Well, there you go. It's a good evening from the studios of Radio FM 88 Australia. Thursday night, it's our co-host is in the UK, sitting right at the top there. Our guest also is from the UK, and I'm going to get Priti Pauline then to introduce our guest. Interesting, fascinating subject, I have to say. Thank you. It's over to you, Pauline.
Hello,
Hello.
good morning, good
Good
evening.
evening.
Thank you for being with us. And I'm delighted to introduce you to Paul Gunson. He and I met maybe almost 2 years ago now in a Tibetan temple, Rotherhithe, in southeast London. And it turns out we were both looking into some similar topics, and from there we've been in touch. We have a connection to the English Counties Assembly. So I'd like to give a very warm welcome to Paul Gunson. Good morning.
Good day, Grand Risings, and thank you for this opportunity to come into your circle. Pauline and I met a few years back in South London, and we connected straight away. Beautiful soul, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to Jeffrey and the audience. How long have we got, guys? I can talk for England.
You go.
Okay. I was asked to give a kind of title to this, which I have. It's about my personal story in a quest for truth. A warrior's journey from the day I was born through tragedy, which I'll talk about, and how and what I've come to understand of this word truth. So they say with every story there's a beginning, middle, and end. So we start at the beginning.
Yes, good one.
So my story started at my birth, or at least my mortal story starts at birth. I come at this very much from a source, creator, whatever word you want to use. I'll try and use the word creator because I know the word God doesn't always sit with people, so I respect that. But I do believe in a creator, and I believe I was created in the image of what I believe is the biblical narrative of the creator. And what I very, very quickly learned as I kind of went through my early youth was I was always on a quest for knowledge. I'd be the kind of kid, I love playing football. I'm a Liverpool fan and love football to death. If I had to give up something, it wouldn't be football. Right? But what I very learned from a very early age, I started to get encyclopedias. I don't know whether you guys remember Encyclopedia Britannia, but I had all 18 volumes of that. And I was always inquisitive. What was this? What was that? Got into Egyptology, hieroglyphics, went to Egypt for my 25th wedding anniversary. So I've kind of lived the dream, walked the walk, talked, and I certainly now talk the talk. But there were three questions that I fundamentally could never, ever seem to find the answer. It didn't matter what I read, what I watched, what I heard, what I saw. And those three questions were, where did I come from? Why am I here? And where do I go after this? Because, if I live on this planet for 70 years and I'm coming up, I'm 66 now, so I'm getting close to my sell-by date. The issue being, what is it all about? I wasn't into religion, didn't follow God. My religion was football. But I started to get to around about the age of sort of 17, 18. And whenever I went to a family, party, whether it was a wedding, a christening, a funeral, whatever it was, I would always target the minister, and I'd go up and I'd say, listen, I've got these three questions. Can you help me out? And you know what? Not one of them could ever give me the answers. Oh, we're only theologians. We only share the information we've been taught, and We don't speculate, we don't promise, we don't offer any advice, which I found quite astounding, because if they were supposed to be the people who were teaching people, give you an example, up until 1855, we would have all been illiterate. You know, we didn't have access to the Bible, the written Bible. It was always, you went to Sunday, you went to church and you heard these words. So it's only really since 1855 that we've really started to learn how to read and get access to the Bible, or whatever it is that we were getting access to. So that startled me, that a minister of religion couldn't answer those three, what I would consider fundamental questions. So, cut a long story short, I got introduced to a couple of missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1985. After I'd been married, 2 kids, and I was always curious with this word family. What's family about? Because in my upbringing, by today's standards, my father was quite abusive, although I love him to bits. By today's standards, I would have been a bloody battered child. You know what I mean? I'm sure you remember that old saying, "Wait till your father gets home." Well, I lived that life. My dad always worked. Was a solid worker. He was a fireman, ex-Navy. So he was quite a disciplinarian, and he was quite strict. But he was what he was. I only later found out, and literally 2 months ago, I went to my uncle, who was the youngest sibling of my dad's family, his 80th birthday, one of 12. And talking to one of my oldest cousins, apparently he once went out with my dad for a drink with a group of the family. And it turned out, I only found out 2 months ago, that my dad was quite rebellious. So it's in the genes. but I only found that out 2 months ago. My dad passed away 2015. So the issue was, I can honestly say I never really knew my dad as I thought. He was a keen footballer, loved football. We often talked football, but that was about it. If we weren't having a conversation about football, we didn't have a conversation. It was that kind of relationship. So I was very much struck on family, and having now got met my wife at 19, married at 21. I adopted her son to a previous marriage, and then I had my own daughter 2021. So I was very much on family, meeting these missionaries, and I joined the church, and that was my introduction at the age of 25 to what is the biblical God that we understand today. And then I went on the journey to really understand what the message of the Bible was. And you know what? Holy tamale, it's another brick wall. Because the story of the Bible was so confusing. I thought, hold on, if this is truth, then why is there so much contradiction? Why were half of the books missing? What was the Nicene Council all about? Why did pagans all of a sudden have a say in religion? And the whole thing became a shebang. I thought, hold on, what am I missing here? So I thought, well, hold on, I'm going to go to the end. So I started to study Revelation, and boy, oh boy, did my mind open up. All of a sudden, I started to see the things that nobody was talking about. Give you a couple of examples.
Yes.
If you go into Genesis 6:4, it reads, and in those days, there were giants in the land in those days. Well, what the hell was all that about? Never heard any conversation in a Sunday school about that up until about 6 years ago. So I've already gone 30 odd years in church, never hearing that conversation. Then I started to come across the book of Enoch, the fallen angels, the 200 angels that were fallen. Well, where's that conversation gone? Taken out the Bible. The Apocrypha, many books that were taken out the Bible. So all of a sudden, I've now got access to all of this information, and the narrative from that is totally different. Taking the King James Version, which is our standard way, the message just was not clear. Why people turn from religion is quite understandable, because the narrative is so confusing. So anyway, having followed this journey for, say, 30 odd years, I became very much aware that what we were being told in church was not the truth. It was the narrative that they wanted you to have. The relationship between family was crucial for me, and that's what brought me to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But even within that, there was stuff that I felt wasn't really being told. Anyway, so cut a long story short, I went on a 40-year journey of studying the Bible, and I'm still studying. But in the book of Revelation, what I found interesting was it was talking of a time that would be towards the end. Now, people say the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's only the end of evil. And it's when the new earth and the new world will take place. And when I tried to put kind of timelines into that story, what I found was we were at the end. We were literally towards the end. Now, if any time you guys want to chip in, ask questions, please do so.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I started watching or following some people who were kind of trying to put these timelines together. Now, I don't accept them per se, but I can see where they've come from and how they've got there and how they've calculated. And I do believe the world as it is today in this conversation, we are in a period of time where it's very, very close to what I believe is the return of the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, if people don't believe on that, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. So I asked myself the question, okay, what do I do with this last period of time if this is what I believe is? But what I found interestingly, guys, in the Old Testament, there's a scripture in one of the old books, and I'll get you the reference to this, where it says, and in the last days, I'm believing this is the last days, there will come a time when my people, God speaking to us on this call and whoever's listening, that there would be a generation that would arise and come forth, and they would thrash the wheat, and they would overcome evil. And they would, and the specific quote is, and they will come forward and change the record. Now, that's the quote. So that led me on a slight journey and path then, okay, well, what's the record? Well, the record is our birth certificate. So you can see the connection now. Do you see why I had to tell you that to get you to the birth certificate? So what is the record? So the birth certificate, and just off camera, we had a quick conversation about this. The birth registration is the record that they have that pertains to each and every one of us on the planet of the earth. Now, where did that come from? Well, that started prior to 1933. Your baptism, your death, your marriage would have been recorded in a church ceremony and put onto a ledger, a book, and that would be the record. But what we did, L.A. Missouri, good speaker. What we had was no physical record attached to any government body. It was purely church, administrative, ecclesiastical. That was always the record. Yes, but now all of a sudden, everything's going to a government body. So what was all that about? Well, what I discovered was the birth certificate being a registration. And if you look on the bottom of your birth certificate, it says, this is not proof of your identity. Well, what was all that about? Well, if that document isn't proof, what is proof? So that took me in another rabbit hole. And what I discovered was that birth certificate registration, if you look somewhere on your document, you'll see what we call a QSIP number, which is an identifying number that is recorded with the government. And that's fine. It's an administrative duty. They're managing, they're supposed to be our trustees, they're managing our persona, our ens legis, if you like. And what I identified was, well, what was this QSIP number? I discovered that that was a bond. And if you look at your birth certificate document, it's actually bonded paper. It is, it's not, it's not a standard A4, piece of paper. It's a bonded piece of paper. And I discovered through a search with Fidelity, which is a company in America that trades those QSIPs. And your data is attached to that. So here's the thing. Having followed that journey since 2010, why can't we get access to this information? And lo and behold, I found the reason. Because they don't have to tell you. Yours is the responsibility to discover and find out. So it's about, they're going to be silent, they're not going to admit it, they're not going to be transparent, etc., etc. So when this new word, GDPR, which is basically your general data request for information, we found out that under copyright law, your birth certificate document, so the piece of paper, that is copyrighted. So a lot of people in this so-called truth movement will say, oh, well, it doesn't belong to us. Well, here's the thing. Under copyright law, you can only copyright illustration. You can only copyright the font. So whatever is on the blank piece of paper of a registration, yes, that is copyrighted to the government. However, what we've discovered, and this is where our new journey takes us, is you cannot copyright personal data.
In the same way you can't copyright a recipe, cooking recipe.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So the issue is the data that is on the birth certificate is ours. So therefore, under GDPR, we can request all the information related to why you've got our information on one of your documents. And the same thing applies to the traded bond with Fidelity. So right now, we've literally put a case forward as to request information as to why you're using my QSIP number from my birth certificate, you're using my personal name, you're trading it on the market, stock market, you're making a profit, and I can see the value of the fund. Now, on my QSIP birth certificate number, I've seen the figure from a report from Fidelity, 3.4 billion.
Yes, well worth knowing.
Let that sink in.
Yes.
Now, under GDPR, which has only really been around for the last few years, and this is why it's been a 17-year journey for me, it's only really now that we think we may have a way to get access to that under GDPR, because by law, not legal, remember legal is their system, we are lawful. So what we now have is the lawful way it means to actually seek that information. So watch this space, I'll keep you tuned. Right? So we think that could be a major breakthrough. But going back to what Pauline said about the English County Assembly, we believe that all peoples must come together, because trying to do this as a one-off person, it's a nightmare. You're never going to do it. You're going to struggle. They're going to pull you down. They're going to criticize you. Brilliant. That's a great bit. So you see, David, just go back up a little bit, Jeffrey, or whoever's controlling that. See where it says the 39 English counties? If you just click on that, what that will do, that will open you up to the original 39 counties of England. So what we're doing...
1840 something, isn't it?
Say again, Pauline.
I think it's something like 1840 when these...
Yeah, 1844 was back in the day when all of these counties were all individually self-governing and self-sovereign. So what we're doing now is we're taking this back to its original 1844 status. So in my case, I'm not Rose, I'm Lancashire. So you can see on the map all of the varying status. Now, the same thing applies for Australia. There is a Terra Australis equivalent of this, as there is globally, because this is a global concept. What this gives you access to is potentially South. I think there is an Australian. Yeah, there you go, Terra Australis. So you can see that all of this is a global, and what this gets you access to is to put you back into the correct jurisdiction, which is the land and soil. So we would encourage everybody who's listening, if you want to make the change to a better world and prepare for a better world, you might want to look this up, do a bit of research, and join your local community, because all it is doing is putting you in the correct jurisdiction. Because right now, we are all deemed lost at sea. We are all chattel. We are all debt slaves. We're civilians. When the reality is we stand under the Creator. And when you move your jurisdiction to that of being under God's law or Creator's law, you're above everybody. Now, when people learn that, you will identify that you have more power than you might even believe. Because when you come at these courts and these legislative issues like traffic violations and debt, taxation, just to throw one out there, there is no requirement. There is no lawful requirement for tax. Tax is a gift. It's you're giving a gift to the government if you want to help them. Well, I don't want to help them. I think they're making enough money out of me. So the issue being is you've got to come together. We've got to come together as a community, go back to the original standing on the ground. Now, I don't know what the dates are for Terra Australis, but I know being a British colony. But the issue is, we also, something else that we want to do is take this back to the original tribal elders. So, for instance, in Australia, it would be the Aborigine. In New Zealand, it would be the Maori, because they were the first. They were the first peoples on these parts of the world. So we want to take that jurisdiction even as far back as that, because at the end of the day, the tribal rights and ownership of the land was always the people anyway. God gave us dominion when He created us. He said, "I give you the earth as a gift. Look after it, protect it, be kind to each other, treat each other nicely, cause no harm, loss, or injury. And so long as you're living within those confounds, there shouldn't be anybody else telling you how to live or control your life. You have sovereign over yourself under the divine Creator, and there's nobody else in between." What has happened, sadly, we gave up that relationship with God as a humanity back in the day, and I'm talking 4,000 years ago. We asked for kings, we asked for government, we asked for judges, and we got it. God shut His eyes, turned off His telly, said, "Okay, I'll keep an eye here on what's going on, but you don't want me. Okay, I'll just sit back and wait for the day you do." Well, I believe now we are at that day.
Yes.
People, if I was having this conversation 3 years ago, I would have been ridiculed, I would have been shut down, I wouldn't have probably even got on air with you. But there is a resurgence now into the Creator, the source, the energy, the light, whatever words you want to use.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, it was foreordained that it would happen now. For those who are into star signs and stars, not astrology, but astronomy, or I might have got that the wrong way around, but we were always told to look up. Always look up. What age are we in now? We're in the age of Aquarius.
Yes.
The age of Aquarius is the light bearer. It talks about free information. You might call this the Acacia Record. You might call it divine inspiration. You might call it light source, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. So we're in that period of time now where all of this knowledge is being revealed. Hence, my truth will prevail. Because now, and especially with the creation of the internet, while some might see that as, a means for evil, and it is, it's also a means for good. So you have to pick what side you sit on. Because this information now, even 20 years ago, would not have been available. Now it's available. So everybody is accessing this information through your phone, right? But it was information that was always available through the Acacia record. So people like me and Pauline and Jeffrey, who have done years and years of research, we were coming across things that we perhaps, oh, hold on, this is a bit strange. What's all this about? So I believe right now we're in this window of opportunity, and I do believe it's about 6 years. Now, the opposite to that is people like the World Health Authority. Organization, and there's a 2030 agenda. What's their agenda? They want to decrease the population to 500 million, 500 million. Now, records and statistics state that we currently are sitting somewhere between 6 and 8 billion. So that's a 90% decrease in the population. That's their agenda. Now, whether you believe it or not. Say again?
To what end?
Well, they think if they can get rid of people, they can have the world to themselves.
But it won't function.
So the whole, I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? Just even thinking about it, it's crazy. But it all comes down to greed. It all comes down to control, power, blah, blah, blah. So the answer to that solution is we've got to get as many people to stand up. And here's the interesting thing, going back to the birth certificate. The birth certificate registration didn't come until 1933. That was the year that the world also went bankrupt. That was the year that they introduced currency through the production of federal notes. Now, for your audience, and you might want to put this in the chat if you can, guys, Edward Mandell House, all three, that's the name of the guy who was a secretarial advisor to President William Woodruff in America. And he stated on record, video evidence. Now, whether that's evidence or not, you kind of got to ask yourself the question. But he said we were going to have to introduce something in America whereby everybody is registered and that we can use that information for taxation and for generating wealth. And they will be none the wiser because we will give them as a kind of plausible deniability for them was we'll give them benefits and pensions and privileges. And that's our way out. We can't be held accountable because we're looking after them. We're treating them fairly in their eyes. The fact that they're making untold wealth against us was another story. So go and watch that YouTube video. There is some information around that.
Excellent.
But that we said that in 1921.
Wow.
1933, the birth registration requirement for everybody born on the planet was put in place. Predominantly in America, but where America goes, so follows the rest of the world. Now, since 1933, you've been required to register a birth. And that's where the whole trap of this traded bond kicks in. Have a guess what came out in 1935?
Female right to vote?
Nope. The board game called Monopoly.
Monopoly. Yes, of course it did. Yes.
And they put it in plain sight. If you do this, and this, and if you land on this, we'll fine you. If you go into this thing, we'll charge you a rent or we'll charge you a tax. And if you're naughty, and I know you're naughty, Pauline, so this is a warning. If you're naughty and you don't play by the rules, where do you end up? In jail.
Or a psychiatric.
You do not pass go, you do not get your inheritance, you do not get your £200. They're telling you in plain sight.
Okay.
Then 71, President Nixon announces the removal of the gold standard. Why? Because he couldn't keep printing money. Gold was always historically the balance between currency the ledger was always balanced with gold. Take gold out of the equation, you can print as much money as you want. Now, what's interesting, and I'm going to quote him per se, we are temporarily suspending the gold standard to protect the economy. Temporarily. Do you know within 4 months of that withdrawal from the gold standard, the price of gold went up substantially to the point they could have returned back to the gold standard, and with the price of gold, they could have paid off the entire debt in America. But he chose not to, and that has never been rescinded. Never been rescinded since 1971. So gold and silver, while it is real money, it can't be used.
Right.
You can't trade, you can't go into a local shop and trade gold and silver for goods. You can sell it, you can buy it, you can sell it, you can store it, etc. But the challenge now is the economy is about to collapse again, and we are going into a global reset. You're all familiar with those terms. No empire has ever survived more than 250 years, and guess what? America's just gone and celebrated 250 years. So we're about to change. And even Trump himself wants to go to a gold standard. All the BRICS nations want a gold standard. All of the EAU, the Middle East, want a gold standard. China wants a gold standard. Russia wants a gold standard. The only people that won't, Australia will sadly, I think, come under the British thing of a CBDC, unless you can tell me different, Jeffrey. But the issue is that digital currency is just going to be another fiat currency, only now it's digital. They will be able to control every aspect of your spending. And what they won't need, because you will opt into this, they won't need your permission. So let's say you're speeding in a zone 30 miles an hour and you do 34. You'll get a nice little ping on your phone. They've just taken £15 as a charge for speeding. Or they've just done something this or that. Council tax. Anything to do with debt. It won't be that they ask for your permission. It's that they will automatically have access to your bank account and they will just take it out. Now, that's not a world that I want to live in. I believe we're free, we're sovereign. I have the right to determine my own wealth. If I offer a CBDC system from the government, I won't be able to buy, I won't be able to sell, and that is scriptural, without their permission. Without the mark of the beast, again, Revelation, if you do not have the mark of the beast on your forearm or your head, you won't be able to buy or sell. Now, that's the biblical reference. So everybody's waiting for this tattoo. It ain't coming. Everybody's waiting for this microchip. That is here, and some people are using it. Sweden in particular. Most of Sweden employment, they have an inserted microchip that opens doors. It has access to your bank. It has all your medical details. So wherever you go, they can just scan that and it'll bring up all your... So this isn't coming, guys. It's already here.
Okay.
The issue is, do you want to be part of that world? Well, for me, no, I don't. Okay. So TECA is the answer to that, because we believe once we get access to these private treasury bonds, we will be able to get wealth from that, which will be gold backed.
And
that's taken us completely separate out of the system into the private.
Yeah.
And we can do this via trusts as well. So the idea would be to put all of your wealth, once we start getting this type of wealth. If you've got wealth now, i.e. you've got several properties, you own, you've got certain amounts of funds. Certainly when it comes to banking, I would not have any money in a bank, because if banks collapse, by opening up a bank account, you actually give them authority over your account. You're actually saying, I am so stupid, I can't manage my own money. I'll put it in the safekeeping of a bank, and you deposit it. That deposit is a security. That gives them the permission to lend that money out at 6 to 8% interest as a loan, and they give you what, 0.25 back per annum? Seriously? Are you having a laugh? Anyway, so I don't even go down the banking. Before I go on to my personal story, guys, any questions?
Yes, I was going to ask through. You said from birth. So good idea of birth and how birth has affected you and affected everyone when they've had a birth certificate. The Tekka people, for instance, I know that we have East Sussex and West Sussex where I am, but Sussex, it was Sussex originally. And I was born in South West London, but it's not London or Greater London. It was actually Surrey.
Yeah, there's no such place as
right next door to me was oval cricket ground. So if you go back, cricket is more where your county was, because they all had cricket teams.
Yeah.
And oval is the home of Surrey cricket ground. So it's good to make those connections, and that's 100 years ago.
Everything's in the words.
Yes.
I've studied entomology. I could scare the crap out of you if I give you some words. Like if I said to you, and this is not rude, by the way, this is what it is. If I asked you now the question, and your audience, if you put the anagram FUCK together, I'm not going to say the word because there might be children watching. But if I said to you, do you know what that means? Do you know what that means?
Father, uncle, cousin, king.
Oh.
Say again.
Father, uncle, cousin, king.
Good guess. But no.
Oh, okay. Come on.
Do you want to have a guess, Pauline?
No, I'm not going to.
It stands for, and this goes back 400 or 500 years, probably more, fornication under contract with the king.
What? So the king had first refusal.
The king had the right to fornicate with the bride on the night the night prior to her wedding.
Yes.
And you had to apply for a license to marry in order for you to lawfully fornicate, because prior to that, anything that you did was classed as fornication. But once you apply for a marriage certificate, you now had the lawful right to fornicate with your spouse. Now, here's something that most people don't know. Does a woman and a man marry each other?
No.
No.
No, they don't.
The registration. You're applying for a license. The bride or potential bride applies for a license to register with the king as wanting to marry this guy over here. And he has to do the same. But never the twain shall meet. They've taken God out the equation. They put it through a registration. So when you apply for a registration, you're marrying the state. You're not marrying each other. Now, prior to that registration requirement, and as I say, it goes back 400 or 500 years, you would have just recorded the marriage in the Bible.
Yeah.
Or in the church. That would always be the record. But once the requirement for registration came in, you actually married the state. And the same thing applies for divorce. You don't divorce each other. You divorce yourself from the state.
Wow.
And when you get your, I can't remember what the word is for this, when the marriage is resolved, there's a Latin word, I can't remember it now. Is it decree nisi? Is that the one?
Yeah, decree nisi.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That is just the registration being dissolved. And off you go and you live your merry life onwards.
But you're still back to the birth certificate.
And it's now I believe the same principle applies with the birth certificate. But what we don't want to do is give the birth certificates up, because the birth certificate is think of it as an avatar. You know, your body is you. You're the living man, the living woman. You're the biological beneficiary of God's planet, God's earth. Yeah. If you think of a trust, there's always a tripart trust triangle. Yeah. God is the creator or the source. Jesus Christ is the trustee because God gave the earth to his son as his footstool. And we as men and women created in the image of God, brothers and sisters to the heir of Christ, we are the beneficiary. So this whole planet, we have dominion. Sadly, we gave it up. Now we've got to come forward and reclaim it. And if you don't come forward and reclaim it, as far as the system is concerned, you're just chattel, you're a civilian, you're a debt slave. They'll keep taxing you to death until you die. Think of the word mortgage. What does mortgage mean?
Well, mortgage is
death grip.
Death grip.
Because it's likely going to last you for the rest of your life. So all of these things are traps to take our wealth. What we're saying now is we can come forward and claim it. Any other questions? And I'm going to go into a little bit of my story.
I was wanting to take you back to the beginning. The title of our talk today, birth through tragedy onto truth. So
right, okay, tragedy.
Let's move into the middle section.
This is the middle bit. Now, I'm not saying this to seek any sympathy or empathy. I believe every single person's story is crucial to them. And everybody has a story. This is mine. I'm going to skip the first 20 odd years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. I'm going to take you to 2003. My daughter got married on her wedding, on her 21st birthday, as I did. Her husband had previously had cancer. Tumor came back. My daughter is now pregnant at this time, and she's just given birth to my oldest grandson, who's now 23. And anyway, his tumor came back. He was given, if he didn't do nothing, he was given maybe 12 to 18 months. If he had the operation, if he had the operation, he might get 3, 4, 5 years. So they opted for the operation. So they took the tumor out, which was size of an orange, just at the top of over his eye, and initially did well. He was sat up in bed within hours of the operation, fine, no issues. Anyway, cut a long story short, my grandson is now 8 months old, and he passed away.
Wow.
So my daughter was widowed at 22. My son-in-law was 24, and my grandson's 8 months old. So that was the start of it. 2006, my son, now age 33, same age as Christ, when he passed. This is a fiddle, healthiest person to look at it in the world. They were doing some spring cleaning in the loft. He started to sweat profusely, started to convulse. By the time the ambulance got there and got to hospital, he was in a coma. He was in a coma for a week and died.
Wow.
Age 33. My daughter, my oldest grandchild, who's now 34, I think, 33, 34. She was only 12. I had to go and wake her up and tell her that dad had just passed away. Not something a granddad wants to tell their grandchild. 2020, anybody remember a certain medical procedure that came about? My wife was admitted into hospital with what's the chest infection, Pauline? Pneumonia, that's the word. Which she kind of got every winter. She had underlying health issues, which I won't go into. But she was in hospital for a week. Being diabetic, she was on steroids. I saw her on the Thursday night of the 5th of March. That was the day the first person of COVID was reported dying of COVID. It was the 5th of March, 2020. I asked the doctor when could she come home. She said, we're just waiting for the blood sugars to stabilize. If everything's good tomorrow, she can come home tomorrow type of thing. So that was at 8 p.m. At 5 a.m. on the 6th, I got a phone call. Can you get the family in? Your wife's crashing. By 6 o'clock, she was dead.
Oh, wow.
So
6
what
o'clock in the
happened?
morning.
What happened between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m.? God only knows. The last thing they asked me was, did she come into contact with anybody with COVID? I said, no idea. But on the 6th, she was the second person, I believe, that died related to COVID. Now, because she had underlying health issues, they put it down to underlying health issues, which, anyway, one day I'll find out the truth, which is my pursuit of truth will prevail. I believe something happened in that hospital that night that caused it. They looked at her statistics and thought, hold on, if we're going to eliminate somebody, this is the kind of person we don't really need in society, blah, 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 underlying health issues, epileptic, diabetic, quadruple bypass, COPD, we don't need this expense type of thing. That's my own opinion. Can't prove that, but that's my opinion. 2021, my daughter, who was 41 at that time, 4 children, the oldest being 23 to the first marriage, Gary. Second marriage, 3 children, the oldest being 16, a boy. Then 11, then 7, but they were all 4 years younger than that at the time. But 2021, my daughter's diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma cancer.
Good.
We then journey on a 3-year battle of cancer. Operation started in a foot, started off a little tiny verruca, and it grew into a golf-size tumor on a foot, which she eventually got operated on, skin graft, the whole shebang. Got the all clear 6 months later. Then it reappeared in her groin, in her lymph nodes. She ended up getting a dissection of a groin. Got the all clear again after 4 months. Next minute, scan of the brain, tumors in the brain. She was getting chemo at the time. She opted for the NHS against my wishes, but it was her right, her life, her choice. Anyway, she was getting some treatment, had a heart attack, died for 20 minutes. Now, she was on a non-resuscitation policy, but because her husband was with her and emotionally he was obviously distraught, he said, do whatever you can, save her, whatever. Anyway, they resuscitated her. She was in a coma for 7 weeks. When she eventually woke up, she had brain damage. She couldn't speak. She had no idea who we were. She had no memory. Cut a long story short, 6 months later, she started to gain a little bit of speech, a little bit of movement. She was incontinent, couldn't get out of bed, the lot. Then a memory started to come back slowly. Within 12 months, the hospital decided we can no longer do anything. She needs to go into a rehabilitation unit, which she did, which was local to our home. And through some really, really good quality care, she started to recover.
Okay.
To the point, we got another year where she was doing really well. But they said her condition is terminal. It's just a question of when. So my daughter, being like me, a fighter, she just kept fighting. Remember, she's got 4 kids. We got to the Christmas of last year. She got really poorly. Christmas Day, we went in for Christmas dinner with her, and it was a hard day. She was tired. She didn't want to be there. She was trying to fall asleep. So anyway, that was really the downturn. Up until then, great. Now she's on the downward slope. We got to April, Easter Friday. She was unconscious. Spent all day with her. I promised her I would be with her at the end. Nothing happened all day. She stabilized. I went home, got some sleep. I said, if anything happens, call me back. I got a phone call at 5 a.m. I thought, oh God, been down this journey before. Went into the rehabilitation unit. My daughter started to pick up. To the point, I thought, God blimey, what are you doing to me? So at 12 o'clock, I phoned her husband and said, get the kids in now, because I've got a feeling this might be the last time. So all the 2 young girls had all done the bonnets, Easter bonnets. So they came in
Mm-hmm.
and I'll try and send you the photograph to post. And yeah, really lovely day, great stuff. But then as the day wore on, she started to deteriorate again. By 8 o'clock, she was unconscious again. I went in Easter Sunday. She never woke up. 3 p.m., she passed away.
Yeah.
Easter Sunday. So you might think, Paul, why are you doing this? Why are you going around the country talking about truth, talking about the birth certificate, talking about the trust? I'll tell you for why.
Yes.
I've got 6 grandchildren. The oldest being my son's daughter. I have an adopted one from my granddaughter's second partner's child, so I've adopted her as another grandchild. And then I've got my daughter's 4 grandchildren, and my oldest daughter now has 2 daughters who are now my great grandkids. That's my reason why I'm doing this, because I want to create a legacy for them where they live in a better world than what we live in. Does that make sense?
It does.
So that's my why. That's my tragedy story. My truth is this: you are worth an abundance of wealth. I'm working profusely with others, and I add Pauline to that. I'll now add Jeffrey to that, because I've now heard his story in Australia. We will work tirelessly from a legal perspective of the birth certificate, with a lawful perspective of you being the creator's image, you standing up for your power. Because if you think of the board game of Monopoly,
yes,
where all the people are underneath it as slaves and chattel, being taxed to death, while these fat cats are getting richer and richer and richer, and we're getting poorer and poorer and poorer because we're being taxed to the hilt. And I'm sure it's the same in Australia. In fact, I'll be honest with you, Jeffrey, Australia is probably the one part of the world where they are on this. They are probably going to be the catalyst for this. If this is going to happen, it will likely be from Australia.
What, the turnaround?
Yeah, because I think they're ready for this. The problem we've got here in the UK is we're so heavily guarded by taxation. We're almost being, we're being strangled. We haven't got any movement. So we're doing our best through TECA, the English County Assembly. I would encourage anybody who's UK listening, but certainly Tele Australis, is to take it back to your native sort of standing. You have the exact same equivalent to this in Tele Australis. Get involved with your local group, meet up as communities, start learning, and by completing the paperwork that's available, you will actually get access, hopefully before the end of this year, to a global fund that is worth somewhere in the range of 2 million per month.
Yeah.
Now, I don't normally throw that number out, because I don't want this to be about the money. I want this to be about you standing up in your truth, standing up on the board game and taking back your sovereignty, taking back your jurisdiction, standing under the Creator, which is the highest law in the land, and challenging the system. It's not about you proving that you're alive. It's about them proving that they have authority. As they don't have any authority over us when we stand up, and we become the biological beneficiary. So when we go into court, when we go into any challenge of any documentation, remember, that's their paperwork, not ours. We will have this paperwork, which is a result of all of this kind of stuff, where you put your autograph. Never, as going forward, guys, the one piece of advice I would give you right now: never ever sign a document with a signature. Always print it out so it can be read with an autograph. and stamp it with a red blood seal. Or in this day and age, we do it with a red ink pad. Because that's your living status. If you sign it with a signature, that's your dead entity. It means nothing.
Okay.
It's their game. You're giving them dominion. You're giving them control over you. Going forward, never ever put a signature on any documents that you send to anybody. And never, ever, ever fill in any of their forms. Always write on your own piece of paper. If you're going to print, if you're going to do it on a document, they have copyrighted Times Roman 12 font size. So if you repeat that, you're agreeing to their copyright. Change the font to anything, basketball hand. Change the font to anything other than Times Roman, because that's your jurisdiction. The minute you put your autograph and thumbprints on, you're saying, these are my rules. I'll play your game, but under my rules. And this document has a fee schedule attached. So when they're writing a letter to you saying, you now owe us and you must pay 150 or 200 or 3,000 or whatever, you say, okay, I'm happy to enter into that contract under these conditions. Here's my fee schedule. For you to engage in commerce with me, I start off at £50,000. Do you want to play this game? And the likelihood is they'll go away. That's the goal of standing up and these are my rules. This helps you to deal with police officers. We don't fight. The pen, I need a pen.
Is mightier.
The pen is mightier than the sword.
Wow.
So we're putting the sword away. Now my family crest is gun.
Yes, it would be.
And it's the picture of a hand holding a sword with the words above it, unpax unballum. And it says either peace or war. So I'll come at you with the pen, with the documents, but if you take no notice, I'll come after you with the sword. Because here's the rule of equity, which is a maxim of law. Equity always follows the law. You have no requirement whatsoever to follow legislation that you have not contracted to accept and that you have not contracted or given your consent. But here's the trap. Your birth certificate has contracted you in.
So how do you contract out?
You contract out by doing this documentation.
Oh, the tech documentation.
So TECA, I think it's called TESA in Australia. So the idea is you're contracting out by saying, I am no longer that person. I'll use that person when I want to, because you still need it, because that's where your trust is. So until we get access to your trust, guys, and help you get that, you have to play the game, but on your terms. This documentation is on your terms. So,
and of course, everybody's fingerprint is quite unique. So
everyone's birth certificate is unique. Yeah.
When you copyright it to yourself, which is
so what you're effectively doing is you're copywriting your name. So you're saying you can't use my name anymore. If you do, I'm going to send you a fee.
Okay.
One of the other steps that we do going further down the line is you get your trademark. And again, that carries a fee. If you're arrested, that carries a fee. If your thumbprint is taken, that carries a fee. And that's $250,000 for each thumb, each finger, $500,000 for your handprint, and $1 million for a retina scan.
Oof.
You walk into your local supermarket, what are you doing? You're being scanned. We can send a GDPR request for your data to be removed. And if you don't remove it and you take it again, I'm going to send you a bill. Whenever you go to an ATM machine, you're being scanned.
I have noticed that there's an awful lot of video machine at the checkout with Sainsbury's, Waitrose, a whole range of different supermarkets.
Did you give permission for that, Pauline?
No, I didn't give permission.
So you do a DSAR request, remove all my data from your files. Failure to do so will result in prosecution for breach of data. Now, I don't know what the equivalent of that, Jeffrey, is in Australia, but I'm sure you will have something along those lines, being a Commonwealth country.
Do you have a lot of videos at checkouts as well?
Yeah, of course.
Well, that's a data breach because you've never consented, you've never contracted. These people are doing this, and to be fair to them, I'm not going to call the checkout girl or lad. They don't know. They're just a corporate person. They're just an employee. They don't know any better. It's up to you to go to the manager of that stall and say, I believe that you're recording my data without my consent or permission. I'm going to give you 30 days to provide me with all of that data and remove. Oh, well, we can't do that because we've got other people on the camera. I said, I don't care what you do. If you don't do it, you're in breach of data protection. My data is private. You have no right to use that.
I have one.
I'll give you an example of this if you want the proof of the pudding's in the eating, and then I'll open it up for questions. I have an infection that I have to constantly use pseudo-creme cream, same stuff for babies, nappy rash type stuff, okay? I'm not going to go into that, but I have to get it. I went to my local Tesco's, which Pauline will be familiar about. I don't know whether you have Tesco's in Australia, Jeffrey, but it's your typical shopping. Anyway, on the box, it said £12 crossed out, £8 if I want to buy it, and I bought it. In fact, you can see I used to watch Blue Peter.
Oh, yeah.
There's the one I had prepared earlier, right? It had £8 on it. So I go to the checkout. I hate going through the scanning ones, but I went through the scanner, and as it scanned, it went £12. So I pulled over the operator. I said, excuse me. I said, I've just put this through. On the box on the shelf, it said £12, but as I
the other way around,
was crossed out, it should have been £8, but it's charged me £12. Oh, she said. So she calls over her supervisor, who just happens to have a red top where everyone else was blue, full of authority, power. So I said, yeah, I've just put this through. It scanned. It said it was only £8, but it scanned 12. Oh, do you have a club card? I said, no. Well, that's why. Because we give discount to people who give us their details for the club card.
Right.
So I had to pay an additional 50% on one item. One. So if you imagine if I had a car full of goods, I probably would have been paying for, say, £150, whereas somebody with a club card might only have paid 90.
Yes.
That's data. So anyway, I mean, give the lady a due. She said, because there's a few other people at the tills, they said, has anybody here got a club card? So this guy came over, gave me his club card, scanned it, and I got it for £8. And then I thought, right, here's my moment to test this guy. So I said to the guy, I said, does that make sense to you that the same product in the same shop can be sold at two prices? I said, you realize you've given them your data and they're trading your data. Do you think they would give you 50% discounts if they were making more than that on your data? He went, oh, well, as long as they get me discounts, I don't care.
Yep.
That's the mentality of people out there that we're dealing with.
And the other thing is that they don't think about how come Tesco's can sell that product and still make a profit at £8.
Absolutely.
And therefore they're at £12. They're making as much as them. So they're extrapolating even more and more. Profit.
That data is worth millions.
Wow.
Millions. Do you know what? I'll just quickly go on to the mortgage and then I'll yield. When you take out a mortgage, do you know that your mortgage is securitized normally within 2 or 3 months? Do you know the day you take out that mortgage, that debt is paid off?
Yes.
And then they take interest on you for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
You created the money, but they loaned it back at interest. They have the security of the property if you don't pay. They can repossess it if you don't pay. They can cash in a insurance policy if you don't pay. And they never lent you a penny.
That's why it's called a repayment.
And here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. That is securitized, and your mortgage is probably sold on and on and on and on at least 300 times.
Now, tell me, was that to do with it was a good film sometime back in the 90s, probably, with Brad Pitt, and they were talking
Wall Street.
What's the name of it? The Big Short or something?
Short. Oh, yeah, I do know what you're talking about. Oh, what was it called?
And that was
Big Short.
The Big Short. Where it was shown that all the mortgages were packaged together and people who didn't even know what they were signing.
Absolutely. And again, that was in plain sight. Yes, if you want to find out about this, now a lot of people say, oh, don't watch telly, but I watch telly because I can see the trap. So they're telling you evil has to reveal itself in plain sight. It can't hide. Right. So they're telling you Hollywood is the biggest perpetrator of evil you could ever wish to see. But they tell you the truth. Whether you choose to accept it is another story. So I watch things because I want to see what they're saying. Because I can pick out the trap, I can pick out the reveal, I can pick out what is truth. And they have to tell you what they're doing. The World Health Authority have told you what they're going to do. They're going to reduce the population to 500,000. Anybody remember the Georgia Stones in America? Anyone ever see that?
Yeah.
They were supposed to be the alternative to the Ten Commandments. Again, 500,000. They have since been destroyed. Nobody ever knew who erected them. They're like, they're like Stonehenge, but they're three large pillars with a pillar across. They're telling us in plain sight. So with that, guys, I'm going to yield. I don't know how long you've got.
Okay. I wanted to ask you kind of philosophically, really. Because the legislation to do with GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, seems to me to be unraveling of everything.
Absolutely.
And it was deliberately passed through Parliament. So what were they thinking?
Well, again, it's they have to tell you the truth. They know that people are waking up, whatever that means. I don't want to use that word anymore. I think we've gone past that sell-by date. The word now is you're aware.
You're aware. Okay.
And I'm going to give you a quick biblical story of what I mean by that, because I try and qualify everything. When Jesus was going to prepare for his Last Supper, whether you believe or not, the apostles said, well, where are we meeting? Are we meeting in the Hilton or are we meeting in wherever? He said, right, what I want you to do, I want you to go to the local village, which, by the way, Jesus had not been to. He said, as you're walking down the street, you'll see a guy with a pitcher of water, big ceramic vase with water. Follow him. And when he enters into the cafe, that would have been wherever. Remember, Jesus hasn't seen this, doesn't know where this is or nothing. Go to secure the upstairs room. And that's where I'll meet you. Now, how does he know that if he doesn't know prophecy? If he doesn't know what's about to happen? If he can't see the future? So anyway, they secure the upper room where all the apostles met. Jesus comes in, does the Last Supper. What's the significance of that story? Well, here's the biblical answer to why we are here. The sign of the pitcher in heaven, does anybody know what it is?
No.
Nope.
Aquarius.
Oh, yes.
So Christ was prophesying that there would be a time when Aquarius would pour out the water of truth onto the people. And just gone all goosebumped. That's where we are. The truth is being poured onto humanity to become aware. So that now fulfilled. Now that couldn't have happened 10 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. That prophecy was at the Last Supper of Christ 2,000 years ago. That same event. Now here's. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit emotional. That same event prior to his return, as he was going to the Last Supper, that is the prophecy of his return back to us, his people. That after this age of this pouring out of the truth, when enough people rise up, when enough people come together and change the record, there will come a point, a tipping point. Now, I believe that tipping point is 2 billion people. It's 17% of the population of the world. Teke has already got, sorry, I won't say Teke because I think this does include Australis and everywhere else. We currently have 500 million people registered having changed the record. I believe we've got 6 years left to get that number to 2 billion. And then we will have created a world not only fit for us, but for our children, our grandchildren, and in my case, our great-grandchildren, fit for the return of our Lord Jesus Christ. Because he's not coming peacefully. He is coming with the sword. He is coming to defeat evil once and for all. But we can become a people united, coming together, standing on the land and soil within our communities, create an alternative council, create an alternative government, create an alternative police force where we serve the people only. Now, if these people in the judicial system, the government and the police want to repent, because we must give them the opportunity to repent, they can come into our world, but they come in to serve the people only, not to stand up for corporations, not to stand up for government. And the biggest perpetrator of evil today, and I'm going to go on record and saying it, is King Charles. Because his coronation oath was that he would be the servant of all, acknowledging that God is above him and that he is the servant of God to protect the people, and he has violated that oath of office. So we don't want to chop his head off. We want to hold him accountable. And that's what these records do. They will hold him accountable. So either repent. Now, I don't have any confidence that Charles will do that, but I do have a hope and prayer for his son, William, because I think he may very well take on the mantle and the legacy of his mum, Princess Diana. I think he is just waiting and abiding his day where he does become the sovereign king of the people, not of the Crown Corporation. But we'll see.
We'll see. Well, that's a very, very nice way of describing. I haven't even asked a question. What we tend to do toward the end of a conversation like this is to ask you about what is streaming the new. That's the name of the show. And you've already put it together by saying that people are coming together. Okay, there was a little bit of thing there, but it doesn't have to include the Bible. But people will together, they'll stand together, working with each other, for each other, and there'll be some unity between people. And if you like, they have a common cause, and their common cause is their children and their children's children and their children's children. So it's for the future that people have a better way of being. And and I don't want to put words in your mouth. I just wanted to try and recap what you've said, and if I've interpreted what you've said in that meaning just put forward.
Okay.
Right.
There's a famous song by John Lennon.
Yes.
You know, we are the people, and we have to come together. We can't wait. Please, 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 please stop sitting on your backside. Stand up and make the difference. Come
Yes.
together. What they have done. Anybody remember this song? I think it was Pink Floyd, Just Another Brick in the Wall.
Oh yes.
We're not another brick in the wall. We are the wall.
So the John Lennon song you're talking about, because I know it would much more meaningful coming from Liverpool and he's coming from Liverpool too.
Yeah.
It's actually called We Are the People.
The lyrics are "We are the people." I think it's I can't remember the title of the song now. It's gone out my head. You know, is it Dream? Something to do with Dream. Oh, I can't remember the word. It's a famous song. I will come across it and I'll post it. But basically, he says, you know, he's saying that if we don't know who we are and we don't come together, we're lost. Which is the whole message is they want to divide us. They're trying to get us all to stand alone. They're trying to get us to be not just another brick in the wall. What we are trying to do and what we're trying to say here is we're the wall. We're not just a brick in the wall. We're the wall. We are the truth. We are the light. We are the source. We are the people. Stop waiting for someone to come and save you. Now, I do believe in the return of a savior, but that's ultimately because we may fail at what we're trying to do. But I don't believe individually we'll fail. As a group, we will succeed. So the more of us that do come together, we will prepare a world to be ready for his return. Don't wait for him to come and save you. You prepare your way. You make sure that when he comes, more importantly, and again, this is scripture, he actually says, I will honor all contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So if we've done this, and this is our changing the record, then he's going to know who we are. Because our very lives are all being transcribed and they're all being recorded. So what we do, we will one day open up that book and he'll ask us one question. However long he gave us on this earth, and I'm 66 this year, he will say to me, Paul, he won't call me Gunson because that's my family name. That's not my name. The only name I was given by appellation from my mother was Paul. He will say, Paul, I gave you 66 years. What did you do with it? And then he'll go silent. He won't judge me. He won't call witnesses. He'll just open up the book of life for me and he'll go through it. Well, that wasn't very good, was it? Well, that was better. Well, actually, you got there in the end. Well done, thou good and faithful servant, come into my kingdom. That's my hope, my dream, and my prayer. And I want the same for everybody on this call who listens and stands up and does something. What are you going to do with your legacy? What are you going to do to benefit yourself, benefit your children, your grandchildren, and all future generations? Because when that return does happen, we are going to have 1,000 years of peace, love, happiness. And that's the 1,000 years that the whole human family, going back to Adam and Eve, will be reunited by birthright. I'm a genealogist. I've traced my family name, Gunson, back to 1550. There aren't many records ahead of that. The only one that I'm likely going to show up would be in Doomsday Book. So with that said, that's all I've got.
Fantastic.
And I hope that will
I always like talking with you, Paul, because it's a very easy conversation. It's so captivating and engaging. It's not boring at all. I find it informative and well, very human.
Well, just as a closing remark,
Yes,
I am starting a course in September. I'm going to put that on. It's an invitation to Liverpool if you want to come all the way to Liverpool. But I'm going to do a Zoom on a Sunday because I believe it is a spiritual message.
Yes,
it's all about how to become sovereign, standing in your power, basically what I've talked about today. But I'm going to do a 2-hour Zoom on a Sunday evening, 7 till 9. So I'm not quite sure. What time is it in, how many hours difference, Jeffrey? Are you in Australia?
Oh, it would be 3 hours, but 10 hours, 9 hours in front of you. So if you're
so it'd probably only be, probably be about 5 in the morning. So that might be too early for you guys.
Oh, early risers coming into sometime.
But what I'll do, I'll send a link across if anybody wants to join that. I will also have it recorded, and then I can post it to you, and people can follow. It'll be a 6-week course, and it will give you a clearer and better understanding, certainly behind the documentation, and then also how you can go forward. So with that, thank you for the invite, and I hope this was of some value to your listeners.
Thank you very, very much. Anything you want to add, Jeff?
No, it's okay. It's very good.
Very good. Excellent. So it's goodbye from the Northern Hemisphere here, from Pauline and from Paul. And thank you very much, Australia, for being there.
Thanks, Pauline. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you to all your listeners. Take care. God bless. And may your life be a prosperous and happy, peaceful one. Or as Spock once said, live long and prosper.
Bye-bye.
We are dreaming the new dream, transforming reality and bringing into creation the world we want to see. People are dreaming the new dream, following their heart's desire, being the change they want to see, living lives that truly inspire.